I'm live. Okay. Happy solstice, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful one so far. The kids have just come off school, and we're heading in toward the end of the year, first day of winter. So today we are going to do 4 hours. I'm pretty excited to have all this space and time. You feel free to come in and leave whenever you like. You don't have to do the full hours. Full 4 hours. But yeah, thank you for joining me, whoever's here. And we're going to get started with a slow sun salutation. So usually don't do sun salutations for a yin class, but because this is a day that's associated with our respective position with the sun, we're going to make that symbolic connection with a very slow sun salutation. So for each pose, we're going to hang out there for 3 breaths. Okay, so let's start in mountain pose. I know yin class starting in mountain pose is rather unusual, but and let's bring our palms together and settle our thumbs on the sternum. Start to level out your breath. Start to grow from your feet. So feel the inhale bringing this kind of energy lift up through the body. And then on the exhale, just letting it sluice back down into the feet and through the earth. So for now, just let the focus be on this gentle cycle of breath. Notice the state of your mind right now. Are you jumping ahead? Okay, when is she going to start? Are you thinking about, oh, maybe I should vacuum those baseboards? Or, oh my gosh, I have so much wrapping to do. So any of those things, just let them, they're there, they'll be there, but let them fade into the background. Let the breath be first and foremost. I feel like the light's pretty bright. Okay, the purpose of a sun salutation is it's kind of a thank you for getting to participate in one more day on this wild and wacky material world. And so the idea is to shift away. So gratitude is such a beautiful way to shift away from the flutteriness of the ego, of the little I. So that's why a lot of yoga practices do start with the sun salutation. It's just a way of connecting with a sense of gratitude, something outside yourself. Yeah. So let's begin. So first pose is inhale. We're going to lift our hands up right to the sky. Lift out of the side body, lift out of the sides of the heels, all the way up the sides of the legs. Breathe. Try not to pop the ribs here. Let's try to contain the core so we have nice alignment. And that's 2. And on our next exhale, we're going to swan dive down. So lead with the heart as we fold. We can soften the knees nice and soft so we can get the hinge of the hip. And then we're just going to dangle here for 5 breaths. Breathe into your thighs. So bend the knees enough that you get that hip hinge closed and you can breathe into the legs. On the next inhale, we're going to push into the shins and get a nice flat back. Okay. Keep the knees a little bit soft so we're not hyperextending. And on the next exhale, we'll Dangle over the legs again. Bend the knees as much as you need to. And breathe. Explore the weight in your feet. And finish your next exhale. We'll plant the hands. We'll take a nice big step with the right leg, lower down in the back knee. Either stay here in a low Anjaneyasana. Let's make sure the knee is over the ankle, or we can come all the way up. And we'll breathe here for 3. Opening ourselves up to the pulse, the rhythm of the Earth's revolution around the sun. But to us, it feels like the sun is swinging around us. And exhale, we come on down. We step it back to down dog. 3 breaths here. First down dog, we can pedal the feet a bit. If there's a movement calling to you, then go ahead and be fluid with it. Okay, on our next inhale, we're going to draw the navel in, come up on the toes, roll out to plank. Now we're going to stay here for three breaths, so feel free to make this a knees plank. Just to make sure we're engaging the core here. If anything creates stickiness in the breath, modify. Always modify. Okay, on the exhale, we're coming down into chaturanga. Again, knees, chaturanga is fine. It's a tricep push-up, so keep the elbows close to the ribs. Kind of slide the chest forward so we can keep a 90-degree angle with our elbows. And lower to the ground on the exhale. We'll roll the shoulder heads away from the ground. We'll lift the heart into whatever form of cobra you're feeling this morning. It could be a baby cobra. It could be a teenager cobra. It could be full cobra. We're gonna follow the exhale back down onto our tummy. Tuck the toes. Press on up. We're gonna go back to down dog. For any of my friends who just joined us, we're starting our yin with a slow sun salutation, just so we can connect with the symbolism, the solar symbolism that makes this day special. When you finish this exhale, we're going to step forward with the right foot. Lower down the back knee. You can choose to stay down here with your Anjaneyasana, or if you want to rise up, feel free. It just depends on where you're at this morning. So you notice we balance our lifts, our openness to the world, and our bows with every move in the sun salutation. So on the next exhale, we are going to come down, tuck the back toe, and step it forward in our fold. Sway the chin from side to side. Finish your next exhale. We're going to inhale a flat back. So push into the shins. If you can keep a flat back and push into the floor, let's make sure our fingers are in line with the toes. Again, we don't want to hyperextend the knees, so just a little micro bend. That also helps engage the muscles a little more. And exhale to fold. Okay, let's soften the knees. Let's pull the navel away from the thighs and let's roll this one up. And we'll inhale to get the hands up to the sky. This time, maybe you're feeling a little bit open to the chest, so maybe you can push the hips forward and get a bit of a back bend, standing back bend. Keep the upper arms close to the ears. And wherever you are, your inhale is reaching the fingertips straight up, and the exhale brings the hands back to heart center. So we'll do that on the other side. Before we come into our full yin practice, let's lead with the left leg now. Again, connecting with a sense of gratitude for the blessings that are in your life right now, even if that blessing is the inhale you're taking right now. All right, let's inhale to bring the arms up. Take a bit of a back bend if you like. On your exhale, open the arms wide. Lead with the heart, slow descent. Bend the knees enough to get the chest to the thighs. And hang. Our next inhale, we'll come into a flat back, either pressing into the shins or the floor. Let's pull the shoulders away from the ears. Let's gently draw the navel in so that we can support the lift. And next exhale, we're going to fold over the legs. And finish this next exhale, we'll step back with the left foot. Lower down the back knee. Stay down here in your Anjaneyasana or rise up on an inhale. Lifting the heart. Greeting the day, heart first. And as we exhale, we're going to come on down. Every exhale, every bow forward is again connecting to that sense of gratitude. Let's step it back to down dog. Finish the exhale up on the toes. We roll it on out to a plank. Knees, plank's fine because we are going to stay here for 3 breaths. On the exhale, we are going to come down into chaturanga or knees chaturanga. So let's slide forward on our feet, toes, so we can get the 90 degrees. And on our exhale, we're going to lower to the ground. And roll the shoulder heads away from the ground. So it's almost like the outside of the shoulders is pulling our chest off the ground. Press into the hands. Go to where you can still maintain a nice, smooth breath. Soften through the bum. If we're doing the full yang practice, then yes, we want to be very, very taut through our muscles. But right now we're just easing through our muscles. On the exhale, let's lower down. We're going to push up and go into down dog. Finish your next exhale, and we'll step forward with the left foot. Anjaneyasana. Either hands stay on the ground and we offer the heart forward, or we lift. The idea of moving into our day heart first. And as we exhale, we come forward. And this little bow is an acknowledgement of all the blessings we have in this world. And the ability to fill our lungs with this very unique element of oxygen, nitrogen that keeps us alive. Our next inhale, let's lift the heart for our half, our flat back, half lift. And our exhale is going to release us over the legs again. Again, we still want the ribs connected to the sides, but now maybe we can ask the sit bones to just lift a bit. If the chest comes away, then just stay with the bend. Shifting from toe to heel. Finish your exhale. Draw the navel away from the thighs. Roll on up. And let's inhale the arms up. Reach up through the side body. Pull the navel in and up. Gently drop the tailbone, keeping the pelvis nice and neutral. And exhale, hands to heart center. Let that energy settle into the body. Our shortest day of the year for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere. And we will move into our yin practice for today. So make sure you have some tools, some bolsters, some cushions. If you don't have a bolster, I like to use either couch cushion because it's nice and firm, or a rolled up quilt. I mean, you want a blanket that has some real support to it, right? You don't really want fluffy, mushy, because we're going to be using something about this size for several of our poses. Yeah, I also have a set of blocks here. I have cork and the soft one. Different things. The soft ones are fine. The cork ones are a little bit less uncomfortable, or a little bit less comfortable. But I still like to use them for if I need to give them my entire weight. Go ahead and play some music, because I can't really play music here without attribution. I'm going to change the angle of my camera, because we are going to be on the ground now. You don't need me standing up anymore. There we go. See my little tree? That's Bob, our little living tree. Okay, so for our first pose today, we are going to settle into child's pose, supported child's pose, which is why you want to roll up the blanket or get some cushions. We're going to start in a little seed pose. with support for our chest. So let's have the knees wide, toes together, the end of the bolster or a rolled up blanket against the knees. Maybe you have a cushion wrapped with a blanket. And we're going to set our chest onto the cushion. Turning one cheek. And coming into our breath. So while we're here, I'd like you to get completely into your body. Completely into this space. So I'm going to start to set, I'm going to use my hands here because if I actually release my head onto the bolster, you're going to hear something weird in my mic. So as you settle in here, let every exhale really dip you into gravity. All those places of support across the shins, across the backs of the feet, the elbows, the backs of the hands, if you're resting like this. The chest against the bolster, the upper belly against the bolster, the head. Really melt in physically. Because in this time of year, in the Northern Hemisphere, that's exactly the rhythm of the year. The trees withdraw their energy into their roots. The leaves that fed them for the summer and half the fall have been shed so that the winds of winter cannot uproot them. All the energy of winter is roots. Hibernation, conserving energy for where it's needed to survive. Now that may seem a little antithetical right now in the holiday season, whatever holiday you might be celebrating. There's lots and lots of winter celebrations in the midwinter. A flurry of activity. But for these few moments, however many moments you're going to spend on the mat this morning, let's just go into our own roots. Okay, if you've had one cheek turned to the mat, to the bolster, go ahead and turn the other cheek so that we can level out the neck. Scan through, just see if you're holding on to anything, if there's any tension moving through the shoulders. Just invite it to release. Always, whenever the mind drifts away, whenever anxiety starts to kind of ping the mind, just always come back to this neutral breath. Let the breath be your primary tool to come back to yourself. And then from there, that nice neutral space, that vital space, then we can move into our landscape, into our inner landscape. So as we sink into our roots physically, let's kind of explore our own roots. What, as we dip into who we are the who that's not shopping, not wrapping, not cleaning the house, not working, not having deadlines and not having shoulds. What is that clean, clear part of you? What is in your roots? What exists there that supports you and gives you strength and feeds you and allows you to grow? If you notice yourself kind of struggling for that answer, no struggle. Just like a pose, we're not struggling into our poses because we're holding them. So just settle into the idea of your roots. So even if it's just a vague impression, let it be a vague impression. It doesn't have to have a specific word. Maybe that comes later in the practice. Maybe that's going to take a few practices to connect to. So just let that vague impression of what your roots are swirl around you. Bury yourself in it. Find the heat of it. And same if you know exactly what your roots are. Same deal. Breathe into it. Warm yourself with it. Okay, finish your next exhale. Take another round of breath. Now we're going to use our hands. Let's curl the spine. Keep the head nice and heavy as we walk the hands back. Come on out of our pose. Let's move the bolster, move our cushions, and come into seated. Here. Okay, so I'm loosely going to be moving through the four elements: air, earth, water, fire, and the symbolism associated with them. And so the first one in the hierarchy would be spirit, ether, but we're moving into air. So I would like you to get your bolster, and we are going to put it horizontal. And you might want to get a pillow or something handy for the head. And if you do use a block, use two blocks because we need to go all the way across the side. So we are going to bring the bolster right up close to the sacrum. And we're going to lower ourselves over that bolster. Oh, nice big opening. Now, if this is too much, that's what the blocks are for. That's what a pillow's for. But we would like to try to keep the chest, the head, either the same height as the chest or lower. Okay, so for the legs, if you're feeling comfortable doing so, soles of the feet together. Or you could extend the legs. The easiest tends to be to have the soles of the feet on the ground. So it's find what's going to work for you. Make your adjustments as you need to. And for anybody coming in, I want them. Okay, hands can rest on the tummy. They can be cactus arms. They can be up overhead, if that feels good. And just breathe into the roller coaster of your torso. And we start with our element of air. We're starting from the subtle and moving into the earth, just like the energy of the trees, right? Moving from the heights of the branches and the leaves, and then moving down the trunk into the roots. So just like we did in child, see if you can connect with all your roots right now. So all the places of contact between you and your props and the ground. Soften yourself into all those points. Let's check in with the chin. Let's make sure we're not jutting it too much, even if we're all the way on the ground and the crown of the head is close to the ground. Let's see if we can kind of tuck the chin in just a little bit. And again, we're looking for a fluid stillness. So if your body's telling you, I need to adjust, then please feel free to adjust. And then come back into your stillness. A fluid stillness allows us for movement and allows us to come into stillness again without a whole lot of fuss. The fluid stillness does also ask us to check in and make sure that our movement is intentional and not just a distraction. We live in a world that cultivates distraction. Some of our greatest tools can also be our greatest hindrances. What creates the difference between a hindrance and a tool and an effective tool is mindfulness. Soften your face. One more full cycle of breath. See if you can pull it all the way down into the hips. Side out. Okay, my friends who have their legs extended or their knees wide, let's go ahead and bring the knees right up to the sky. We're going to roll over onto our right side, very mindfully, very gently. So use your left elbow to kind of help roll us over here to the right side. So notice we are draped over our bolster or cushion. Our knees are stacked. We're trying to get our shoulders and our hips in the same plane. So for our head, we can still keep these blocks as a pillow. We can also use our arms as a pillow. And really explore the breath through the side body. Notice how it starts to massage the spine. And we soften here. And you can just very gently tip the left shoulder forward. Take a big breath. And bring it back in line. And just find where you feel the most opening. I encourage you to pull the breath all the way into the hips. So that's the only real effort we're applying here. Everything else is gravity and our props. So really draw the breath all the way down the spine. So pulling the diaphragm, stretching the diaphragm so that you can actually feel expansion through the lower belly, through the lower back. Just play around with it. If it gets there, great. If it doesn't get there, just have that intention. Air tends to be the most subtle of the four elements. Because if, as we work with breath, we notice that it's our connection between material and immaterial. It tends to be a bridge between a lot of things. It bridges our autonomous and parasympathetic nervous system. Because our breath is automatic. So if we don't think about it, it'll still be there for us. But we can also manipulate our breath to a certain extent. So we work on it consciously as well as unconsciously. And by consciously slowing the breath, we can change our energy, our state of being, our emotions, our thoughts. Okay, we're going to roll back through the center on an exhale. Take a breath in the middle. And very gently, we're going to set ourselves up on the other side. So I'll go ahead and turn around so you're not looking at the back of my head. So again, we can have a pillow for our head. We can sandwich our head with our arms. Let's make sure our shoulders are stacked by kind of bringing the right shoulder. We tend to kind of keep the right shoulder back. So let's roll the right shoulder forward first. So past the stacking and take a breath. And then bring it back to stack. And just play with the breath on this side, pulling it all the way down into the hips. Let's find a rhythm for our breath. So a nice slow 4-count inhale. A pause, just a 1 second pause at the top of the breath, and then exhale for a count of 4. So we're matching the inhales to the exhales, nice and balanced. And then a pause empty. So basically a 10-second cycle. You know, my friends who aren't big on counting can also choose a 4-syllable word that kind of maybe it's linked to your roots. What's in your roots? Serenity, tranquility, vitality. On a symbolic level, air, the air element, is associated with thought. Thoughts, you might notice the quality of thoughts, how they can flit and change, and they can be breezy, they can be thunderous, they can be a whirlwind that catch you up, that distract you. In distraction, thoughts can be logical, they can be wild, they can come out of the blue, just like the wind, just like a breeze. And thoughts can arise unbidden, unconsciously. And you can also concentrate your thoughts. You can channel your thoughts, just like you can channel your breath. Air can go just about anywhere. And our thoughts can pretty much convince us of anything. So the more we use the tool of air, our breath, to guide our thoughts or release ourselves from the whirlwind, the more we can settle in what's important and grow out of from a place of strength and grow out of a place of care and love and authenticity. Let's take our last breath here. And we're going to gently help ourselves up. And once we get up, we're just going to take a gentle twist. Back the other way. We'll take a little seated cat-cow to kind of reset the spine. So let's bring our hands in front of our knees. And pull the chest up, pull the shoulders back. As we exhale, drop back onto the tailbone, pull the shoulders, tuck the chin. Inhale, just as big or as small as you need. Exhale. And we'll come on back to neutral. So let's get a nice Sukhasana. So if crossing your legs in Sukhasana makes you hunch a bit, then you can go ahead and let your legs come extended. The whole purpose of Sukhasana is to be able to keep the spine tall. And so Sukha meaning sweetness or ease. We want to be able to put ourselves in a pose that allows us to easily do that. Now, even using the wall to help us sit up straight, use that. Use whatever you have available. Let's find our roots. Let's gently tuck the chin. Let's go long through the back of the neck. Let's make sure we're not jutting forward. We want to make sure that we're nice and elongated here. And we're going to just gently tip the right ear toward the right shoulder. Okay, it starts to open up the side neck. Let's keep our shoulders nice and relaxed. And to really find this opening here, I'd like you to just very gently turn the chin in toward the shoulder and back. Just really wait until you feel a nice blossom on the side neck, and then settle into that. Okay, to intensify, if you feel like you need some intensity, we're going to take the right hand overhead and just settle it on the head. We're not pulling the head, we're just adding a little bit of weight. If you like a little more, we're going to take the left fingers onto the left shoulder and just gently guide the shoulder down. I'm not even going to say pull, just a gentle press with the fingertips. Come into your breath. Air is also very much connected to speech. You need your breath to power sound coming out of your mouth. And so the idea is if we can settle into mindfulness of thought, then our words speak true, or necessary and kind truths. If your hands are helping, let's go ahead and release them. Now let's come back to center. Just take a moment with that sensation. And we're going to gently look into the stretch. Take a breath. Chin. We're aiming our chin over the shoulder as much as possible. And on an exhale, we're going to very gently look over the other shoulder. Into the contraction. And back to center. We'll do the other side. This time we're going to tip the left ear in toward the left shoulder. So let's make sure our chin is nice and tucked. And we're nice and straight through the neck before we make that side tip. Because a lot of times what might happen is that we kind of tip forward because it feels like we're going deeper, but we're not. So let's make sure that we tuck that chin in, get long through the back of the neck, and then slide the ear towards the shoulder. And we also do our shoulders are set in a neutral position and not rolled forward. So let's make sure we have that happening too. And before we start to do anything with the hands, let's make sure we're in the sensation that we like by just very gently manipulating the chin, relaxing the shoulders down. And you find the sensation you like. Feels good. Feels like opening. Let's go ahead and use the left hand as weight. That feels okay. We want a little bit more sensation. We're going to bring the fingers and just press, little press. Make sure the chin didn't slide out. Let's bring it in. Breathe. I'm pretty sure it's one of the Dalai Lamas, more a recent one actually. It says, mindful speaking passes the 3 gates. So the 3 gates are truth, necessity, and kindness. So you always check Are these words necessary? Are they true? Well, true. True is the first one. Are they true? Are my words true? And the second gate is, are they necessary? And the third gate is, are they kind? Truths, no matter how harsh they may seem on the surface, can always be expressed from a place of kindness. Don't kid yourself to think, oh, I have to tell these hard truths. It's necessary, it's true, but they're not kind. But you can always speak kindness, no matter how hard those truths are. If you're coming from a place of compassion, your words will be kind, even if the truths are harsh. So two out of three don't cut it. My daughter's always trying to negotiate the gates. 2 out of 3 should be enough. And who am I kidding? I'm always trying to negotiate. 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 is great. And let's release. Gently bring us back to neutral. We're going to turn into the stretch first. And turned into the contraction. And back to neutral. Let's switch the orientation of our feet. If we're cross-legged, either heel in front of heel, or we're shin across shin. Let's reach out the arms nice and wide. Flip the palms. As we exhale, we're going to settle the fingers on the shoulders. And we're going to drop the shoulders down. So let's push both shoulders down. Let's draw the navel in. Okay, so we're supporting our spine. And as we inhale, we're going to bring the elbows to kiss. And at the top of our breath, we'll separate, and we're going to reach up through the side body. So we're not popping the chest. We're keeping the core engaged. Okay. As we exhale, we'll pull the elbows behind, keeping a neutral spine. And at the end of the breath, just gently pull the shoulders down. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, pause. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, pause. Inhale. Exhale. Try to bring the elbows back behind you as much as you can without flexing the spine, not extending the spine. Last one. And release. Let's bring the hands to the front of the knees. Let's pull the chest forward. Now we will flex the spine, or extend the spine. And exhale into flexion. Pull the navel in, tuck the chin, rock back on the tailbone. Inhale, left, pull the shoulder blades together. And exhale. And exhale. And back onto neutral. Okay, we are going to come down onto our bellies. I'm going to get my mat out away from the tree, so we have a little bit of space here. So we might need a block for this one, or a pillow. Let's see, how's that looking? All right. Let's sit here for a minute. Let's breathe into the mat. Let's rest the forehead on the backs of the hands. Big belly breath. Inside out. Okay, we're going to move into a shoulder roll. Even further out here. There, I'll do it over here. Okay, so we're going to bring our left hand out at the shoulder. Okay, so into a T. Our right hand is going to come under the right shoulder. We're going to pick up the right foot. We're going to push ourselves into that shoulder. As we do so, this right leg is going to come up and settle the toes behind the left knee. Okay, this might be intense enough. Can you get your head on the ground? If you can't get your head on the ground, get a pillow or a cushion or a block to rest the head. The head needs to be rested here. Okay, if that is too intense, then go ahead and just bend both knees and you're here. Okay, we're looking for a sensation in that left shoulder head. Okay. Now, my friends who are pretty comfortable here, okay, so we're here. We can take this hand around behind and just curl it. Start to open the right shoulder, increasing the intensity on the left shoulder. Start to breathe here. Make sure there's no pinchiness happening. Make sure there's actually space between your jawline and your shoulder. And if you need to reset, come down, pull the shoulder down toward the hips, but still have it coming out at a T, and set yourself up again. Again, fluid stillness. Find the place where you can settle in. And curl the hand behind. So once you find your shape, hang out there. Breathe. Again, the most effort here is the breath. Soften the feet. This right knee is just for those who want more intensity, and we're just kind of winging it out to the right, all in service to opening the left shoulder. Now, the biggest challenge with those three gates that we were talking about are true, necessary, and kind words is our inner talk. We are very rarely kind to ourselves. We have an inner critic that can be a very useful tool. Our inner critic can motivate us. But if that's our only motivation, it burns out. We can't hate ourselves into a better place. So as we settle into the roots of who we are, what are the thoughts? What is the inner dialogue that rises up around that? Is our inner critic like saying, that's not our inner value. You don't really have that value. How can you say you have that value? Our inner critic could be saying, there's probably a better value. Get a better value than that. Our inner critic is usually hounding us with shoulds. And those shoulds start to pile up. And when they do, we either obey or we rebel. We are so good at sabotaging ourselves. So sometimes rebellion feels like freedom. Hey, I get to do what I want. But it's an immature version of freedom. Because often the things that we want, the things that we deeply want, and the things that we desire are two totally different things. but our thoughts will assign importance. Well, will tell us stories to circumvent what we really desire, what we really want deeply. And so checking the facts of our inner dialogue, checking the kindness of our inner dialogue. Where are these suggestions coming from? And checking the necessity helps us be a lot more gentle with ourselves and helps us make decisions that aren't coming out of frustration or fear or any of those closed emotions. Let's take one more breath here. And as we exhale, we're going to come back onto our tummies. And settle the forehead on the mat and just let both arms come alongside the body, melt both shoulders into the ground. If it feels okay, it's kind of, you can sway the chin from side to side, giving our forehead a little massage. So depending on the size of your nose, also depending on how your chin is. So tuck your chin in, you have more space for your nose. And we're going to do the other side. So the right arm comes out the shoulder. Make sure there's some space. Slide around over here. Left hand underneath the left shoulder. Pick up the left foot. And as we push ourselves into the right shoulder, the left foot comes around behind or stacks. And you find a restful place for the head, whether it's on a cushion or on the mat. Test out whether you want to wrap your arm or keep it forward as a prop. Breathe into the sensation. Settle into the sensation. With your 10-second breath cycle. And then these next few minutes, I would like you to, from the vantage point of your breath, investigate the meanderings and wanderings of your thoughts, your inner dialogue. What's going on in your brain? And because we're centered in our roots, moored by our breath, we can observe all these things without taking any of them personally. Whatever thought comes up, it's like a fish in an aquarium. No better. It's like a leaf on the wind. We have no compulsion to grab onto it. And we can just watch it whirl and dance, and follow its trajectory, and let it go. Last inhale. Sigh out of an exhale. Let's start to move to our tummies again. Really, let's take our time to feel the release, feel how the body comes back to equilibrium. Let's release our hands alongside the body and turn one cheek to the mat. Big belly breath into the mat and just feel it rise through the back body. Really try to see how much you can make the lower back rise. A couple sigh outs. Sway the feet. Sway the hips. Let's turn the other cheek to the mat. Big long sigh outs. Clear the body, clear the breath. And let's bring the hands underneath the shoulders. Engage the core. So pull ourselves on up. Walk on forward. And we're going to sit on our heels for a moment. Take a little twist, release. A little twist, release this way. Okay, let's do a time check here. We have completed an hour so far. So if you'd like to grab a little drink, if you need a bathroom break, I'm going to get a little bit of my tea here, and we will be moving into fire next. Actually, we'll kind of transitioning into fire before we actually hit fire. If anybody has any questions, feel free to use the chat feature. Let me make sure I have the chat feature on. Glasses, there we go. See, here we are. Welcome to live chat. Live chat. See. Hello. Yeah, there we are. We have chat. Okay, yeah. If anybody has any questions, or if anybody has a yin pose that you'd really like to do today, I can work it in. We still have a little bit of time for air, so if you really want to get some air in there, we can do air. I'll give you one more air pose. And about one more minute. So my friends who've gone to the bathroom, let's head on back. For our fire portion, we will be doing a dragon sequence. It is the most yang of any yin pose. So make sure you have your blocks. And if you don't have blocks, because we're going to be doing 3 different dragons. So we're going to be doing the high flying dragon. And be here. You can be on your thigh. We're going to be doing a low flying dragon, and we're going to be doing a twist in dragon. Okay, so dragons, we don't hold them quite as long. We hold them for 2 minutes each because they are a little more yangy than our other yin practice poses. So block or coffee cans work when we're doing something like this. So if you don't have access to blocks right now, it's okay. You can use another kind of prop. Even a big thick book on either side would work as well. Okay, my friends, are my friends all back? Okay. Thank you for joining me, who's ever here, and who's ever maybe watching when it's not live anymore. That's beautiful too. Welcome, welcome. I know it's a lot of us still have our 9 to 5, so understood. Okay, we are going to be coming into, what do I have for you guys here? Our final big chest opener for air. I think I'm going to use my corks for this one. Depending on how open your upper back is, you're either going to be using a block or you're going to be using a bolster. So if you're using a block, we're going to have the block. I'm going to use my soft one. We're going to have the block. It's going to go right between the shoulder blades. In fact, I probably do need to take my hair down for this, or else my messy bun's going to get in the way. Another option is to use our bolster or rolled up blanket under the shoulder blades. So our arms are just clearing the top of the bolster, and then we can rest our head. For more intensity, we're going to use a block right between the shoulder blades. A little less give, top of the head can be on the ground. Or again, whether you're on the block or the bolster, you can have a pillow. But we're trying to keep the head lower or as high or lower than the chest. Okay, this is a little different than what we did before, because when we did before, we had the bolster close to the sacrum. Now we're a little bit higher. So on a blanket, what this looks like. Bottoms of the arms. If you're doing cactus arms, the bottoms of the arms are just clearing the top. And if you feel comfortable doing it, legs out in Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, just getting heavy through the knees, or knees up to the sky, or feet at the edges of the mat and the knees leaning in together. That's a kind of nice release for the lower back. If that calls to you, go ahead and take it. Or we are extending long. I'm going to go ahead and use my blocks. This one. See how that goes. We are transitioning into fire. Now, fire and is our will. Now, our will encompasses quite a spectrum, because it goes from everything to our desires to our what we might call our true will, or our dharma. And sometimes these things are completely at odds. What we want and what we want are two different things. We want to be healthy. We want to be healthy, but we also want cookies all the time with ice cream and cake. We want to be productive, but we also want to just kind of chill out and scroll through social media and watch Netflix. We want to be comfortable. That's very much wired into us. Move toward pleasure, move away from pain. Move toward comfort, move away from discomfort. And sometimes short-term comfort actually results in long-term discomfort. And so piecing our will from our desires. We'll use will for kind of our deeper desires, the desires that come from our roots. The desires that come from our roots we'll call the will. And then the other desires, the monkey mind desires, the little kid desires, we'll call desires. So desires and will. Let's not mix them up. So as we settle into our roots, let's also recognize what our will, what the fire is around our roots. What sustains us? What fire sustains our life, like really sustains us? And sometimes that will be Netflix. Sometimes that will be cookies with ice cream. but we need to be standing in our roots to recognize need from distraction. If anything starts to get a little ruffly, or if anxiety starts to arise, we always come back to the breath. So if there's some baggage around these ideas that start to create bits of anxiety, breath is always, we're cultivating that as our haven. One more inhale. Let's sigh it out. We're gonna bring our knees in. Maybe we help with our hands. We're gonna roll to one side. Take a moment. Don't try to feel the release. Feel the blood moving into those places that are no longer extended. Okay, now gently tuck the chin and just curl in slightly into fetal position. And breathe into that space between the shoulder blades. Now we're rolling the shoulders forward a bit so that we can kind of contract the stretched muscles and stretch the contracted ones. Breathe all around the upper back. Let your breath massage in those spaces that we opened, those spaces that worked. Okay. When you're ready, let's engage the core to help us lift up a bit. We're going to get our bolster, come into a bit of a twist. Bolster or cushion. So let's set up with the bolster coming right up into the right hip. Okay? So we're sitting kind of sideways on the mat. Okay? Length of the mat out to our right. Okay? We're going to lean into that bolster and curl our legs back into kind of a pinwheel. So the right knee is coming straight off the edge of the mat, and then we settle the left knee into the arch of the right foot. Okay? So kind of a pinwheel. Most of our weight is on our left hip. So now we're going to kind of adjust. Maybe we need to scoot a little bit. And we're trying to get the center of our chest onto the center of the bolster. Okay? If that means we need a pillow or something to bring it up a little higher, then please do so. Okay? So we're coming into a deer twist. So I let this pinwheel set up as kind of a deer pose. And we're going to set the middle. So walk the hands out, set the middle of the chest in. Now we're going to make it a decision for our head. Milder is to turn to the right cheek into the mat, so we're facing the same way as the knee. Okay. A little bit more intense, because it works into the cervical spine, is to look away. In fact, let me go ahead. I'm gonna stay here so that I don't smash my mic for you guys, so you can actually keep hearing me. And once you find that shape, melt the shoulders. So I'm going to keep my hand up here to prop up my head for my mic. But please just let your hands be relaxed on the ground. Make sure the shoulders can kind of sag in. You're just kind of melting your heart over the bolster. Okay, once you've done that, let's check in with the feet. We'll see if there's anything that we're holding on to in the feet and the ankles. Just soften, 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 soften. Thighs are relaxed. Now bring the breath all the way down into the hips. And melt on the release. So the only effort is that breath pulling all the way down. You can feel it all the way down here. The diaphragm pulling into this area, massaging the lower belly, massaging all the organs along its root, and massaging the spine as well. Okay, my friends who want a little bit more intensity, and we're going to stay here for a good 4 more minutes, can slide the left knee back, okay, until it's going straight down the mat. But we don't want to sacrifice having the middle of our heart on the bolster. So sliding the knee back means you're on your side now. Let's slide that knee in and come on in. Fire is such a beautiful symbol of desire and of will. What is the fire that is like with the phoenix? What is the spark that remains in the ashes during the winter? So, as I asked you at the beginning, what's at your roots? Let's maybe refine that a little bit as we breathe in this pose that twists across our solar plexus, which is the symbolic seat of our fire. And maybe we can hone the idea of our roots. Or if we have a good idea of what's at our roots, just hang out with that spark. Feed that spark with every breath. As a species, well, as an animal, we tend to have a negativity bias. And that taps into the is it kind of our inner dialogue, which is usually our inner dialogue is not so kind. We are wired for negativity bias, and that's survival, because we need to not make mistakes that could kill us. So if we make a mistake that could potentially kill us, we need to recognize that and never do it again. But in the same that same wiring is what has us remember the one insult, even if we've had 100 compliments. That one insult sticks with us, gets tossed in our mind. And so what we're doing here as we stoke our fires is that we are rewiring for our own positivity. This spark here that's at our core, at our roots, this heat, this warmth, this enduring warmth. Let's feed that now with our attention. Feed it with our breath. One more round of breath. And on our next inhale, let's start to walk the hands in. Let's keep the head heavy, find the core. Once we get upright, we're going to turn over our left leg. Oh my goodness, it's snowing. They did not, there was no weather forecast for snow. They did not predict snow. What a blessing. Oh my goodness. Just a moment. It's not sticking, but we definitely have snow. I did not think that would happen today. Lovely. All right, we're going to switch. So let's bring our bolster into the hip. Let's rest onto the left hip. Left knee is pointing straight out the side of the mat. We're just going to kind of pinwheel the legs to start. It's going to be a totally different experience. If last time you were fine putting your opposite cheek and looking away from the knees, that's fine. No expectations. We're going into this. This is brand new pose. Let's square up our chest as much as possible. Try to get the center of the chest here. Test it out. Okay, that doesn't feel too bad, so we stay here, or we're going to come on this side. I'm going to come on this side, so I'm not looking at the back of my head. Once you've found your shape, breathe into it, scan through it, releasing any and every little bit of stress. Okay, so the feet tend to hold on to, when we're in a twist like this, the feet and the thighs tend to hold on. So just grip onto something. So go ahead and release them. Relax the shoulders, let them melt around the bolster. Breathe all the way down into the hips, massaging the entire length of the spine. That's, if you've been with any of my classes before, twists are so great because they show you how a full diaphragmatic breath actually massages the spine with every breath cycle. We can actually give ourselves a mini massage with every inhale and exhale. That really becomes noticeable in a twist if we pull the breath and let the diaphragm do its secondary job, which is keeping the spine lubricated, basically. So we're settling back into that spark that's at the root of our being. That thing that keeps us strong, that thing that gives us confidence. That thing that gives us energy to see obstacles as opportunities. Because that part of that fire is our will to power. So if we're centered in our purpose, in our roots of our being, then summoning up the energy, summoning up the courage doesn't feel like a drain. It feels like a natural expression of who you are. Again, my friends who want the extra with the quad can start to slide that right knee back as long as it doesn't sacrifice the resting of the chest. If you have made an adjustment, then check in again with your feet, your hands, soften. And in the same way, let's come soften into our spark. And notice the reactions. Notice the thoughts that arise. Notice any sort of resistance, any sort of self-congratulation. That's fine too. Just notice it all without being caught up in it. Again, leaves on the wind while you're rooted. From a rooted place, you can observe all these various reactions. From a place of patience, you're the perfect parent of yourself. when you're grounded and centered. Nice down the breath here. Slide out. And slide under shoulders. Draw the navel in to engage the core, protecting the spine as we lift. Once we get up, we're going to take a breath and we'll twist in the opposite way. And we're back to center. Okay, we are going to set up for, like I said, the yangiest of our yin poses, the dragon sequence. So get your blocks handy. Oh. It fell out. Am I still connected here with my pods? Testing? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to get our blocks. And we're going to set up our Anjaneyasana. If you remember that from our, for those who started out with our slow sun salutation. So let's step forward with our right foot. Okay. We're going to tuck the back toes and slide the left knee back as far as we can. We want to keep the knee over the ankle. Okay. So if we're back here, that's okay. Yeah, but we don't want to come past the knee or past the ankle with our knee for this sequence. All right, if you have a hard floor, you might want to stick a cushion under that back knee, okay? Or you can fold your mat up a couple times to create cushion for that kneecap, especially if the knee doesn't go back very far. If you're here and we're in our high dragon, that weight is pushing straight down onto the kneecap. But if you can get the knee back a little bit more, then it distributes the weight better. Okay? We're going to bring our blocks close to our hips, as close as we can. Have it on the high setting. If you can get the hands under the shoulders, great. If not, if you're a little forward, that's fine too. Okay. Now for the head, we can, or let's pull the shoulders back away from the chest. So we don't want them caving forward. Let's just kind of gently guide them back so the shoulder blades are sliding down the spine. And for the head, if it feels comfortable, you can tuck the chin and hang, or we can let it hover. We're only going to be here for 2 minutes. It's a 2-minute pose. So get yourself set up. And let's begin. So here, really dip into your core, fire. We still want to try to soften around this pose. We've set ourselves up, and now we're just kind of like releasing into the hands, releasing into the feet, releasing into the knee and the shin back there. Sinking in through the hips. Now, if you find your breath getting a little bit sticky, you're having a hard time with the 4-count inhale, pause, and 4-count exhale, and just come to a lower iteration. Okay. Ten-second breath cycle. 4 counts to inhale. Pause at the top. And exhale to 4. And pause. Close the eyes if that feels good. And if you don't feel comfortable closing the eyes, just settle the gaze at the tip of your nose. Keep the eyelids soft. Dive right into the sensation of the hips. Finish your next exhale. And we're going to bring the hands to the inside of the leg. And here you can have your blocks, you can have your bolster. If you could settle your elbows to the ground, this is basically a lizard in a yang practice, but we call it low-flying dragon in yin. We still want to keep the knee hugging in toward the shoulder. The next pose, we can wing it out, but in this one, we're still keeping the knee close to the shoulder over the ankle. We're not winging the knee out. So just kind of give a little press with that, with the knee. And you can rest your head, your forehead in your palms if you like. You can set up a stack of blocks and rest it like that. Whatever is going to support you in this pose so that you can hang out and breathe. Some of my friends don't need a bolster at all and can come all the way to the ground. Again, don't wing out the knee just yet. Keep the foot, keep the shin parallel to the ground and breathe. Soften to the left foot, to the back leg. And we're at the halfway mark. Let's make sure your breath is smooth. Gauging the reaction of the mind to discomfort. Breathing in intelligence, knowing that a smooth breath is going to keep us in a safe place. If the breath ever gets sticky, then that's a sign that we need to back out of the pose and come into a milder iteration, without judgment, just with wisdom, recognition. Finish your exhale. We're going to come into a twist now. So we're going to wing this leg out. We can set the palm on the thigh and start to turn the chest to the left. You can do this with your arm, your hand resting on the ground. You can bring a block in, bolster in, or you can be all the way on the ground. So I have my weight is on the outer blade of my right foot. So let's go ahead. Make sure we're not caving through the ankle though. Okay, so it's very easy to just kind of collapse to the ankle. So press into the outer blade, maybe even peel the toes back a little bit to make sure we're not collapsing the ankle. The biggest thing is turning the chest. Maybe looking up or just looking straight ahead. Again, gauging how the mind whirls around discomfort. Okay, so the will is that we're staying in a pose with mindful breath. And the desire is, I want to just curl up, eat bonbons. I want out of this discomfort, right? That's the monkey mind is trained to get out of discomfort. Unfortunately, we use the same word want for both things. We use the same verb, want. Maybe we've passed the halfway mark. Last breath here. No, 2 breaths, 2 more breaths. Finish your exhale. Let's come square. Let's come up on our hands. Let's slide this foot back. And we're going to hang out in tabletop for a minute. Feel all the sensations that are going on here. Be completely present for them. And now ask your body how you want to release that. Maybe you want to sway the hips. Maybe you want to come into down dog. Pedal the feet. So part of yin, part of any yoga practice really, but yin really gives us the opportunity is to find out what your body wants. Find out how to get those releases that we're looking for. Maybe a cat-cow. And we will start on the other side. Okay, no expectation. Okay? These are think of them as totally different poses because they are. So we are going to let's start in our tabletop. And we'll step our left leg forward. Square up the hips. Maybe release the hips a little bit. Tuck the back toe. Scoot that knee back as far as you can. Get a cushion for it if you need. Pillow. And we're going to set up our high flying dragon. So whether it's here, or maybe it grows during the course of the 2 minutes. And find your comfort area. Be able to sink into the hips. Be able to dive into that sensation and hang out with it with a smooth breath. You know you're hanging out with it as if your breath is nice and smooth. Let's gently pull the shoulder heads back. Some space across the chest. Breathe into your feet. Breathe into your points of contact with gravity through your hands, through the back knee. Ride your breath through this pose. Same with the discomfort of desire, the discomfort of a thwarted desire. Can you hang out with that want? Can you hang out with it and not act on it? Notice if the inner critic has risen up at that suggestion. And again, let that voice be another leaf on the wind. We don't have to respond. We don't have to respond to the desire. We don't have to respond to the inner critic's nattering about the desire. We don't have to respond to the monkey nattering about the desire. We just have to breathe. Finish your exhale. Let's move the left one to the left block to the inside, both hands to the inside. We can keep the blocks to have props for our elbows, if that works out. We don't have to even, we can stay up on straight arms if we need to. Let's check in with the knee, make sure it's over the ankle. And let's find our expression of low flying dragon. Are we coming all the way to our elbows? Are we resting on bolsters? Are we on blocks? Let's gently nudge the knee close to the shoulder. Roll the right hip toward the ground a bit. Let it get heavy. And breathe. I'm using a block for my head. We are well past the halfway point. Finish your exhale. We are going to wing the knee out to the side. So we're resting on the outer blade of the foot. Peel the toes back a little bit to keep the ankle engaged just a bit, because we don't want to collapse completely into the ankle. Okay? And we're going to start to turn our body to the left. Use the leg to come into the twist. And you can either stay up on this right hand. You can use a block or a bolster to Lean the elbow, lean onto the elbow, or you can get, or some of us are going to get all the way to the ground, but we're mostly looking to turn the chest, whichever iteration. The main thing is to start to turn the chest to the left. Again, fluid stillness, so make adjustments as you need to. Anything that allows the smooth ride of a 10-second breath cycle. We are at the halfway mark. And let's exhale. Bring the hands under the shoulders, slide that left foot back. Stop right here, don't move. Just feel it out. Make whatever moves you like to make. Downward dog, tabletop, cat cow. Or just wiggle. Enjoy the relief. Really enjoy it. The shoulders, and that feels good. Sway the head, tip the head. And we are going to move into a much milder, from that fiery dragon, we are going to move into a nice, gentle fire. We're going to start out with our knees wide and our heels together, coming into tadpole twist. Okay. So what that looks like is the hips stay over the heels. It's kind of like thread the needle, except we're settling we're keeping our hips on our heels. The knees are wide. We're going to walk the left hand out. We're going to take the right hand under the body and rest onto the shoulder. So pull that right hand as far to the left as you can, and then lean back into it. Lean the body, lean the shoulders back toward the right. And then find a place for the head to settle, whether on a block or on the mat. No strain. Let's make sure that there's space between the neck. So kind of reach the head forward a little bit so that you can actually put your hand between the shoulder and your jawline. Now we can either just leave this left hand over here by the right, or we can bring it around and it can snuggle into the left hip, right hip. That's the right hip. And breathe. Now that we're in a place that's a little more settled, we can settle into our spark, into our roots. Gets heavy through the sit bones. Breathe big into the belly. Fill up the belly like a big hammock. Gently separating want from will, desire from will. When we can do that, when we can stand in our will, we're so much less likely to make decisions based on fear, based on frustration, based on anger. We're much more likely to make decisions based on wisdom, on compassion, on courage. Trust me, fear works great in an emergency situation sometimes. That's what it's designed to do. It's not so good for making life choices. It's not so good for making particularly relationship choices. Breathing ourselves into the flame of our own courage. You have it. You don't, even those who don't think they have courage, you do. So just breathe yourself into that place. Nurture that spark, that fire. Finish your exhale. Let's bring that left hand around to help us up. Press into the hand, lift the core. Now let's come up. We're going to do the other side, but let's just do a couple little rolls with our shoulders. And when you're ready, walk the right hand forward. We're going to slide the left hand. Let's bring the arm kind of close to the knees. That way we make sure we get space between the head and the shoulder. Now this left arm can rest right where it is. It can hang out over here with the left one, or the right one can snuggle around. Maybe we lift up so we can catch the hip. And breathe. So settle into the first order of business in any yin is to settle into the shape. Gauging that shape with the breath, exploring the shape with the breath. Sinking in through the sit bones. And then once we settle in physically, we start to explore the inner landscape, our reaction to the physicality, the thoughts that arise, the desires that arise, the emotions that arise. We are past the halfway mark. Finish your exhale. Let's bring that right hand back from wherever it is. Let's bring it in front of the face. I'm gonna push in. Release the arm. Let's come on up to sit. Roll the shoulders back. Release the head. My timer here. Okay, we're going to do one last bit of fire before we slide into water. And we'll take a break after this next pose. What do we got here? Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, so for this one, we're going to need our, do this one. We're going to do saddle, either half saddle, full saddle. It's going to be 6 minutes. So we're either going to do 3 minutes on each side, or we're going to do 6 whole minutes doing a full saddle. Okay, so a full saddle, knees together, heels apart, sit down between the heels. You might already be going, oh, I don't know, 6 minutes. Some assistance to full saddle would be to sit up on a block or the bolster. Okay, check that out, see how that feels. Okay, so you could be sitting here the entire time or leaning back a bit. Okay, so here's another way to hang out in full saddle. We want to slide the tailbone down, no matter if you're going all the way to the ground, or if you're bolstered, or if you're up here. You want to lift the hips, tuck the tailbone, and set it down. You'll notice when you tuck the tailbone, you're getting the stretch over the top of the thighs. That's what we're looking for. Okay? Full saddle without any support at all. Looks like this. Knees together, tops of the feet on the ground. We come back, we tuck the tailbone as we come down. Tuck, 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 tuck. Arms can be out overhead. And then we soften these lower ribs. We are extending the spine, but we're not in a full back bend. We want to kind of counter the back bend a bit because we're tipping the hips. Right? We're trying to neutralize the hips. We're working into the quads instead. Okay. So here's full saddle. You can hang out here for 6 minutes. That's what you're going to do. My friends who already know that, probably know. You're going to do 3 minutes and a half saddle. So what that is extending one of these legs. Knees together, come back, tuck the tailbone, whether you're doing half or full, tuck the tailbone all the way down. And even this one can take, you can rest on a bolster back here with a block as a pillow. This may be where you're at today. If this is too much, you can even slide the knee out to the side and slide the other leg out. So kind of separate the legs a bit. Okay, but tuck the tailbone anyway. Okay, so this will be half saddle for 3 minutes, or you're doing full saddle for all 6. Okay, we're beginning now. I'm going to go ahead into full saddle. but I will be here to switch. My friends in half saddle also have, oh, sorry, one last thing. My friends in half saddle can also add on if they want to, and they can set the right foot onto the left knee and just wing out the right knee. No matter what version you're doing, we're going to soften the ribs. Okay, soften the ribs. Tuck the chin. Get the spine long. Hands can be down by the side or up overhead. Any crazy pinchiness in the knees, we need to protect from. So if you're down here and your knees start aching, get up on a bolster, recline, come into half. Okay? Fluid stillness. Now let's breathe into the space. So on the body, fire is right in the core, in that lovely arch of the rib cage and above the belly button. So it's your upper abs, basically. So every exhale, see if you can soften the back ribs in toward the ground. Slide the tailbone down toward the knees. Lift the pubic bone toward the chin. And on that note, tuck the chin. Get goofy chinned here. Soften the bum. Soften the soles of the feet. Soften the brow. From your roots, from the spark, what is your sword? What is the thing that arises to make you strong? And again, just like with our roots, if it's something rather vague, if it's a feeling, then hang out with that. Don't no consternation, just exploration. If it's just a vague feeling, then hang out with it, stay with it. It might reveal itself, it might not. Hang out with the text, whether you have a word for it or not. Hang out with the texture. Hang out with the color. Hang out with the feeling. How does this spark? Where does it arise in the body? Okay, my friends in half, let's go ahead and switch legs. My friends in full, you're hanging out in full. Friends in half, we're going to lean away from the bent leg. Let's say if you bent the left leg, lean away from the bent leg, straighten, give a little shake, lean to the other side and curl the opposite leg in. Okay? Snuggle it right up into the hip. Start the journey back down, tuck the tailbone, journey down, tuck the tailbone, journey down. Maybe to the ground, maybe on a bolster. Maybe we separate the legs a little bit so that the knees are not upset with us. Option for the halvesies, then we're going to set the left foot onto the right knee and let the left knee wing out. And my friends who are hanging out in full, if you need to make an adjustment to do the next 3 minutes, then make that adjustment. Okay? We're here to settle into ourselves, right? And if today our body doesn't want to do a full 6 minutes, it doesn't have to. Right? If it really doesn't, right? You'll know that because the breath won't be there for you. If the breath's not there for you, please make an adjustment. Everybody soften their ribs in toward the ground, tuck the chin. Hone your sword. Every breath, let it be like the bellows of a furnace. And we're wiring ourselves toward our own shine. The more we can make these avenues into our mind, then the less likely we are to get short-circuited by things like negativity, bias, and fear response. Last cycle of breath. Sigh it all out. Now, my friends who have their right foot, are doing single and have their right foot curled, extend the left leg, roll to the left. If the other is a switch, then roll away from the bent leg. My friends who are coming out of full, let's get our elbows underneath our chest. Let's take a decompression break. Just stop halfway. Let's come on up. Let's take a little twist, everybody, whether your knees are still in hero or if your legs are straight right now. Okay, my friends in full hero, everybody we're gonna work our way up to tabletop. Let's all come to tabletop, whether you're coming from straight legs or full hero, and hold a moment here. Just kind of feel it out. Those who've been in full hero, your feet probably feel pretty funky. So just kind of hang out with that. Feel the blood rush back into them. Maybe kind of sway the ankles a little bit. Don't tap the feet just yet. Just sway the ankles just a little bit. Okay, maybe we start to sway the hips. Let's take a cat-cow. Let's stop in our cat. Really pull the navel in, tuck the chin. Breathe here. And release to neutral. Now let's give our feet a little tap. My neighbors downstairs. Hi, neighbors. Flex and point. Make some circles with the ankles. And come to sit just for a moment. Let's place our hands right on that, under the arch of the belly. Our furnace, our physical furnace. The symbolic source of our strength and our courage. So the strength of the body is the courage of the mind. And let's take a break. Those who need it, we'll take 3 minutes. Okay, so we'll reconvene at 12:48. If you want to hang out, that's fine. If you want to jump into the chat, say hi. It's beautiful. I hope everyone's having a wonderful solstice tonight. Oh, can you see my presents here? We got some presents, bigger presents over there. Well, it's my first Christmas staying here. We usually go to families out of province. I'm in BC right now, British Columbia, Canada. My family, I grew up in Southern California, and we usually go there for Christmas. That's usually our Christmas present, is going to California. So this is the very first time that we've spent Christmas in BC. And so I thought to make it special by getting a living tree. We got Bob. Hi, Bob. And actually decorating. I don't usually decorate. We started decorating for Halloween. We just went lots of bats and things all over the place. And spider webs, and then said we should do the same for Christmas, and that's what we're doing. We're actually going to be Skyping our folks. My folks have their living room set up so that we'll be on the Skype right there. So it's been an interesting time, and it's I know a lot of people are missing the traditions, and I totally get that. The little kid in me wants to go to San Diego and get presents, and you know, it's not happening this year, and that's okay. I've had to, the reason why we want our traditions is because for us they're meaningful. They mean something, whether it's the meaning of experience over the years, the expectation and the fulfillment of that expectation every year. So it's kind of become a responsibility, and it can be a heavy responsibility sometimes to bring meaning into something new. And so that's what we've been trying to do. We've been trying to, with our so usually the meaning is lots of big families surrounded by lots of families, surrounded by lots of activity, all these different events that we do during the holidays. And now we're called to refocus and make meaning with the family that we do have, with our household, right? And finding meaning together in a way that the kaleidoscope and the activity might not actually get to, right? We can actually make deeper connections, perhaps make new traditions, perhaps. So it's up and down, right? Sometimes I feel like I really can flow with the volatility of and the change, and some days I just don't. And you know what? That's okay. And so a lot of yoga, a lot of breathing, and just kind of centering myself in, okay, what's the meaning? What's meaningful here, right? It's meaningful if we allow it to have meaning. And so creating that meaning for our family has been kind of a blessing and a goal and a blessing. So, okay, gab. My friends who may have joined us recently, we are moving into the water portion of our yin practice for winter solstice. Unless you're in the southern hemisphere, then you're doing this for summer solstice. And we're going to come right into a very typical yin setup. We're going to be doing our butterfly. So we need our stack. Okay, so for this butterfly, we're not going to pull our heels all the way in. We're not going to go full diamond either. So we're going to kind of halfway between those two extremes. And we're going to set up our stack so that we can rest. Okay, we want our head to rest. So however we can set up our blankets and our cushions and our blocks to do that, we'll do that. One way, if your hips are not particularly open to do that, is to lean into the end of the bolster. Okay. What we're trying to do is at least get the chest in front of the hips, okay? Even if it's just the tiniest bit. Okay. Some of us are a little more flexible, and we can kind of stack up here like this. We can get even lower, get even lower, get even lower. We could be our feet around a block, and we're here. One of the softer ones, you can see that better. So if you are lower, then I would like you to put your feet out further so that you can actually settle your head without crunching too much into the spine. So if you're comfortable coming all the way down, then you can move your feet out so that you can rest your head. You might even be all the way to your feet. So right now I'm not all the way to my feet. My body's going, nope. So I'm going to stick a block between. And this one's a long one. So make sure you're in a place that you can settle. And if at any time you need to reset, please do so. So the element of water is symbolic of our emotions. And the reason why we're diving in to this particular pose is because it goes into our hips. And our hips are where are symbolically the seat of our watery emotions. So as you settle in here, see if you can give yourself up to gravity, and the only effort is the breathing, pulling the breath all the way into the hips so you can actually feel the inhales interacting with the sensation of the inner hips. Relax the jaw, relax the face. Relax the toes. Shoulders melt, hands are soft. Really pull open the belly on your inhale. And let the navel lead the squeeze out the exhales. Release the jaw. As we approach the halfway mark, maybe we feel like the intensity is a little too much and we're going to back off a bit. Or we feel like there's an invitation to sink even deeper. As long as we can maintain that smooth inhale and exhale, and that's where we're going to hang out. Finish your next exhale. Use your hands and draw the navel in. Roll on up, stacking the spine as we go. Shoulders roll back and the head comes up last. We're gonna lean back into the hands and extend the legs. Sway the toes from side to side. Bounce the knees a little bit. Let's walk the hands behind the hips. Press the chest up. Release the head back if that feels good. Lovely. Let's. What just happened? This is my. I lost something. Something went doop 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 doop. So I think it might be these guys. My AirPods. Let me check. Oh, it's a warning. I thought these guys were supposed to last a long time. Okay, I'm going to take them out and charge them up. And I will put them back on a little bit later. The sound's going to change.